Black Widow is the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, directed by Australia's own Cate Shortland, and is the long-awaited standalone film for Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, which Marvel fans have been clamouring for years. For me personally, I've always found that the Black Widow and Hawkeye characters worked really well in supporting roles through the other Marvel movies, with a good chunk of their backstories already explored. So I never really had a deep desire to see a Black Widow movie, and was always more interested in seeing newer heroes brought to the big screen, like Captain Marvel. But alas, we've reached Black Widow, which is slotted timeline-wise between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, fitting in a piece of the Marvel puzzle that had yet to really be explored. Black Widow builds upon plot threads from these other Marvel movies, and specifically the first Avengers movie, where we got our first genuine glimpse into Natasha's past as an assassin, and the darker moments from her past. And that's really the purpose of this film, to blow open the doors on Natasha's backstory, and have her confront her past and the toxic men that controlled her life. Black Widow sees Natasha and her sister, Yelena Belova, track down General Dreykov, the man responsible for transforming them into assassins, who is using a deadly chemical agent to control the lives of other Black Widows around the world. Given that this is a movie revolving around assassins and espionage, Black Widow has provided Marvel the opportunity to have their own James Bond or Jason Bourne style franchise. And the movie very openly admits to drawing from those sources, including a brief bit of footage from the Roger Moore James Bond film, Moonraker, which is definitely used as an attempt to inform how the spy elements are going to be handled throughout the film. This isn't quite the case though, as Black Widow is also partly concerned with delivering the more grounded action and themes of Jason Bourne, which is honestly where the movie's strongest action sequences are, even recruiting Mission Impossible's Lorne Balfe to compose an action-heavy score. Whenever Cate Shortland is focused on capturing in-camera stunts and fight choreography, the movie and characters genuinely excel. Sadly, those in-camera action scenes are few and far between, as the movie is often drowned out by the usual bombastic nature of your more forgettable Marvel CGI overloaded action sequences, which seem more concerned with making Natasha appear as this invincible superweapon. In scenes when Natasha can survive falling from the sky by jumping across collapsing debris, maybe sticking to being a Moonraker remake would have served the film better. It's this clash of themes and tones that really hurt Black Widow from being taken more seriously. One minute the film wants to shake us with scenes of child trafficking, while also serving up cheesy Russian bad guys. It's like they wanted to be more serious, but remember that hey, we're a Marvel movie, kids still have to be able to watch this. It's not all bad though, as it is refreshing to see Cate Shortland in the director's chair, where she adds that raw indie aesthetic to the more dramatic scenes of the movie. Amongst all the action scenes, it becomes refreshing to see Natasha developing a relationship with her old surrogate family, made up of the very talented Florence Pugh, David Harbour, and Rachel Weisz, where the movie slows its pace right down to focus on these character moments, with the sisterly bond developed between Natasha and Florence Pugh's Yelena being the real heart of the movie, to the point where Yelena and David Harbour's Alexei start to outshine even Natasha, as most of the film's best comedic beats and scenes are given to those characters. Although as with a lot of Marvel movies, their character development is primarily delivered in the form of quick comedic quips. The biggest thing going against Black Widow is that it doesn't always feel like Marvel knows what to do with Natasha. Scarlett Johansson pulls in a reliable performance, don't get me wrong. It's just that if you've seen Avengers Endgame, you know where the fate of the character lies. And so seeing these other characters get substantial attention, it becomes fairly blatant that Marvel is really just setting up these characters for future Marvel movies and Disney Plus shows to ultimately sideline Natasha, as there really isn't much more that can be done with the character. To the point where one of the main antagonists of the movie is quite literally just the mirror of Natasha. Villains are often portrayed as reflections of the hero, and in Black Widow the choice was made to utilize Taskmaster, a villain who nowadays is more closely associated with Spider-Man. This character is able to mimic the moves of superheroes, and in Black Widow, Taskmaster is able to use all the moves that Natasha knows, which really should have led to some interesting action scenes. However, because Taskmaster is portrayed as a faceless goon with no voice for most of the runtime, they never really feel like much of a threat, and you never really feel like Natasha is in too much danger. The worst thing that Black Widow does is tie the origin of Taskmaster to a moment in Natasha's past which is very briefly established early on. It acts as a way to retcon events mentioned in the first Avengers movie that we never really saw. So unless you've held onto that bit of dialogue from 2012, you probably forgot it was even brought up. It just comes across as lazy and does a disservice to both the Taskmaster character and Natasha. Ultimately, Winstone's General Dreykov is the main antagonist, who is supposed to be the mastermind behind the Black Widow Red Room program, and boy is he underwhelming. This is someone who we're told has been in charge of this highly secretive assassin program for decades, and we're just left with this Weasley, overly misogynistic Russian caricature. Yes, the fact that this pathetic, toxic man could rise to a position of power is a very deliberate choice, and we all get the point that Dreykov's rise to power is far from outlandish in the real world. I just don't think that a cheesy Russian villain was was the way to deliver this message when the movie and the Marvel Cinematic Universe has treated Dreykov and the Red Room fairly seriously. I mean, just how had this guy seriously been a threat all this time? Ultimately, Black Widow works as a means to experience a part of Natasha's past that hasn't been explored before, but honestly falls flat as Marvel's attempt at an espionage thriller. We've seen it all done before and done better in Captain America Winter Soldier, where Natasha wasn't treated like she was completely invincible. Marvel was at least somewhat successful in setting up Yelena for future adventures, and to have the excellent Florence Pugh on board, you can't go wrong there. I just wish that Natasha's big send-off had a more consistent vision to it. Black Widow gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Guys, I hope you like this review. If you want to see more reviews just like this one, stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye guys.